US journalist, American journalist, author of Unmasked, Inside Antifa's Radical Plan to Destroy Democracy, Andy Ngo. Hello, Andy.
Hello, thank you for having me on.
Thank you for joining me. Well, we'll get onto the gun in a little while, but I thought probably more worrying than the gun was the fact that once again we got very little out of her. You can't quite work out where she stands on anything. And if she has any difficulty with a question, she says, "Oh, this is a complex issue. You know, we'll come to that when we come to it." That kind of thing. She's still an empty vessel, isn't she, this woman?
So the sit-down interview is significant because Ms. Harris has done very few since she became the presidential nominee for Democrats. And 60 Minutes, CBS famous program, is meant to be sort of our American version of BBC's Hard Talk. And it's probably the only time she will be grilled with any questions about her record and also other controversial things about her ever. And if you watch the 20-minute program, you'll see that she goes into her characteristic word salads where she'll say many, many, many sentences where there's actually very little substance. And that's something that usually happens to her when she struggles to answer a question. One thing I did appreciate from the interviewer last night is he did bring up her history of flip-flopping. She's had a lot, very drastic departures from prior statements in positions she's had before, particularly her views on illegal immigration, for example, on fracking, on abolishing private health insurance. And the part about her handgun possession of having a Glock, why a lot of Americans find that interesting is just she's talking about it now in a very casual way when much of her recent political career, she's positioned herself staunchly as a gun restriction advocate. So this is just one in a long pattern of recent changes and flips as she's tried to moderate herself to get independent voters.
Well, she's all things to all men, you know. She's one of those politicians, if you don't like my opinions, I have others. Let's remind ourselves of Kamala in action last night.
What kind of gun do you own, and when and why did you get it?
I have a Glock, and I've had it for quite some time. And, I mean, look, Bill, my background is in law enforcement. And so there you go.
Have you ever fired it?
Yes. Of course I have. At a shooting range. Yes, of course I have.
That's another one of her default settings. She just bursts into weird laughter. I've got a gun. My background is in law enforcement. What, as a copper? She's a lawyer. I mean, that doesn't follow because you're a lawyer, you've got a gun. When she was quizzed about the southern border crisis, which of course is a humanitarian disaster, as many as 20 million people may have come in over the southern border, illegal migrants, since Joe Biden took over in 2020. Her answer to that, she said, she was asked, what you've overseen a quadrupling of illegal crossings of the southern border. She said her answer to that was, it's a long-standing problem. That's it. I mean, it's not good enough, is it, for a presidential candidate?
Well, this is one of her biggest vulnerabilities because, as the interviewer said, it is under her administration with President Biden that the numbers did quadruple, and some of the estimated numbers of people who are coming in is in excess of 10 million people. And what's particularly disturbing is that the impact that it's caused on not just big cities, but in small towns across the United States has been hugely destabilizing to so many American lives, and it's cost taxpayers billions of dollars. Kamala Harris has also within her past called as a policy position for the decriminalization of illegal immigration. That's something she's run from now. Some video has resurfaced of her in the recent past where she was chanting down with deportations. So I think what American undecided voters have to consider is that under her, if she was to be the next president, the millions and millions of unvetted people who have come in illegally into the United States will not be removed. And it only takes a few years for these people to become naturalized. And I think that it creates now a new, reliable Democrat voter base. This is how some states have flipped in the past from red to swing states to reliably blue. And I know this is a very uncomfortable conversation, and Elon Musk has brought it up a lot about potential other motivations in why the Biden and Harris administration undid so many of the executive orders from day one that Trump had in place to deal with these migrant surges at the border. It was them who undid it. She's acting now as if there's no such thing as executive orders when she oversaw with Biden the undoing of what was relatively successful from the prior administration.
Yeah, there was something like 2.1 million migrants came over the southern border in the entirety of Donald Trump's presidency, whereas some estimates are that 20 million have come in underneath Joe Biden. And let me move on. By the way, I lived in California in the 90s. I can remember in the early 90s, California was a solid Republican state, and they shipped more and more migrants in, made them citizens. Migrants always vote Democrat. And they say that that's what they're trying to do in the swing states, that in the fullness of time, within a few years, if the Democrats' migrancy plans work, the swing states will all be Democrats. So there may be a long-term fixing of the electorate over there in America, no doubt about that. Before you go very quickly, Andy, there's a new movie out on the other side of the fence. It's called The Apprentice. It's about Donald Trump when he was a young businessman. Now, Donald Trump is used to bad publicity, but this film has a scene in it in which he rapes his wife. There's no evidence that as far as we know, this never happened. There's no evidence to say it did happen. I believe so far the president or the former president has stayed fairly quiet on the issue, but there's bad publicity and there's bad publicity. This is a bad look. I think we've got a trailer of it. Let's have a quick look.
Roy Cohn, nice to meet you.
The Roy Cohn from all the papers. Yeah, you're brutal.
Guilty as charged.
Roy Cohn is a crook. He's been indicted 3 times.
I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. People, they hire me because I'm a winner.
How do you win?
The first rule is the simplest. Attack, attack, attack.
It's going to be the finest building in the country. In the world. It's going to be spectacular.
Rule 2. Admit nothing, deny everything.
You think you can beat the U.S. government?
Rule 3. No matter what happens, you claim victory and never admit defeat. I record everything in case I need it.
Well, that's illegal.
You have to be willing to do anything to anyone to win.
Well, that's a very compelling trailer there, Andy. But, this idea in this film is a scene where he rapes his wife. Now, as far as we know, this never happened. I mean, this is a bit outrageous, isn't it?
So I haven't seen this film.
No,
but
nor have I.
I didn't know that they recreated that scene. So that comes from an allegation in divorce court stuff that involved Trump and his first wife. His wife did later on come out in interviews and denied that particular accusation that was in the media. And his wife, until her recent death, had maintained very close ties to her first husband. So this seems to just be an anti-Trump film. And I think having that scene in it, the fact that it's quite distasteful considering comments that she has made denying it, and also the fact that his 3 adult children from that marriage have also denied any type of mistreatment that their mother accusations about mistreatment against their mother.
It's not. The thing about old Trump is he's not particularly litigious. He tends to let things roll like this. But you might have thought he might draw the line at this. But probably in an election campaign, it's probably best not to highlight such allegations, untrue though they may well be. Last question, Andy. Who's going to win?
I can't make that type of political prediction. However, the polling showing that it's 50-50 right now.
It's close, isn't it? It's close. It's
as close as can be.
Yeah, intriguing stuff. Come on again soon, Andy. Good to talk to you. That's Andy Ngo.